Wow, wow, Wes.
Dr. Peter Attia, dude, thank you for coming. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this. I'm really pumped. I read your book, so I'm kind of familiar with
thank
your
you so
stuff,
much.
and I kind of like what you're about.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing the podcast. And I guess I'll give you an introduction and correct me if I'm wrong. You were a medical doctor and you did cancer surgery, right?
A general surgery with a focus on cancer.
With the focus on cancer. And then you just kind of, I liked your origin story a lot. And so from what I remember in your book, you did this big swim, like it was like a marathon swim or something. And how far did you swim?
It was about 21 miles.
That's insane. So you did a 21-mile swim, and then, if I remember correctly, you were eating a cheeseburger in celebration. And your wife,
actually, that was a slightly longer swim, but yes. Now I know the story you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, that honestly, dude, that made me laugh so hard that you did like
I think that was like 25 miles or something.
25-mile swim. You go out to have a cheeseburger and I believe a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And your wife more or less was like, "You're fat."
Yeah.
Dude, that's the best. And then it launched you, and then you just got the ultimate revenge and started like a super successful business. How do you feel about that?
She was very sweet. She said, she didn't say you're fat. She goes, "You need to work on being less, not thin."
That's worse, though. I'd rather someone be like, "You fat ass," and be like, "You need to be less, not thin." But you just swam 25 miles.
Yeah. Well,
that's wonderful, though. That is good, though, to have a woman to push you to those heights. Because then is that really like the genesis of you kind of branching out into like...
I had actually already left medicine at that point. I had been out of medicine for 3 years. I was working at that time. God, what was I doing? I was working at an energy company, I think, or maybe I was in finance or something. I was like, I had nothing to do with medicine. But that was right around the time my daughter was born as well. And so I think that was kind of the 1-2 punch. It was sort of my daughter's born. And then I'm realizing actually like I'm not that healthy. Yeah. Even though I exercise a lot, I'm actually not that healthy. And those two things were what kind of got me to be pretty obsessed with just trying to figure out how to not die prematurely.
The kids do that. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, and that really kind of, I actually thought, you'll find this interesting. I thought I was healthy. I was doing the, all these apps. Like I did the one where you like mail your poop and all that stuff. And I did that. They came back like, "Dude, you're like 6 years younger biologically." I was like, "Dude, this is awesome." I had the Aura thing. I had that going on, telling me I'm 7 years younger than my age. And then I took a blood panel. Dude, I'm like pre-diabetic.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, what the fuck, man? It was like, I thought I was like killing it. And I got it back and it was like, I literally just found out 2 days ago. So this timing couldn't be more perfect. My A1C, I think it was. My A1C is like 5.7, which was like, but I did eat 2 bites of a pancake before my blood work, which you're not supposed to do.
Shouldn't impact the A1C.
Damn it, dude. I was fucking hoping that was the answer. Yeah, so that is kind of crazy because and again, I don't, I'm not the definition of fitness, but I'm not like, I thought I had the almost type 2 diabetes.
Well, it takes a while. Like no one wakes up diabetic, but also most people don't recognize that it's a 10-year journey for most people.
Really?
To get there, yeah.
So what? I have like four more years of pre-diabetes?
No, I mean, I think that's impossible to predict for any one person, but we definitely know that disease is so much more complicated than people, I think, historically have thought of it. People have historically said, well, I mean, type 2 diabetes is your pancreas can't make enough insulin, you can't get enough glucose out of your blood into the muscles, and eventually we just cut off some arbitrary number. We just say once you reach a certain level of blood glucose, then you have type 2 diabetes. But, to me, that's just not a great way to think about it. I think of it as a continuum and a spectrum. And pre-diabetes is a step along the way, but we also know that the lower your blood sugar, the better. So 5.7 is better than 5.8 is better than 5.9. But even though we would call you quote unquote normal at 5.6, I would argue 5 is much better than 5.6.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah. It was like for real jolt because I was like dancing in the end zone on my wife because she is her biological age, and I'm not rubbing it in, but it was like whatever. And I was like, I'm like 5 years older than her, so I was like her peer biologically. And I was laughing, I was
these biologic clocks things are such a scam. It is incredible.
Well, dude,
I love it.
Mine
no,
went
I
down.
love it. I love it. It's brilliant marketing. It is brilliant marketing.
Well, I woke up one day and I went like I lost half a year of my biological age. I was like, what the fuck did I do? I like went into a panic. But yeah, so that was like a real revelation for me. I was like, holy shit, man, because my dad has type 2 diabetes. And I was like, yeah, that's on him. He eats ice cream all the time. I'm healthy. And I like got my blood work and I was like, son of a bitch. By the way, I'm just breaking this right now. I don't
This is breaking news.
This is breaking news.
This is like so timely.
I have and I was actually, it is very timely. And I have been leveraging it emotionally in my household, which is nice. Anytime my wife bothers me, I'm like, dude, I have pre-diabetes. This cortisol is going to mess up my insulin. So
I got a text message literally on the way over here from a buddy who just got a vasectomy yesterday. And we had recommended the urologist to him who was going to do it. So he goes, look, I just want to tell you, man, literally the best experience ever. The guy was incredible, so funny. He's got me draped like over the table. So like, he's like, there's a drape, like I'm laying on my back.
Like
and
a C-section? They do they don't let you see?
Yeah, it's like you're sterile.
Okay.
They want to keep you sterile, right?
Gotcha.
And the guy walks in the room, first time, he hasn't seen me, he doesn't see my face. He just sees my schlong and he goes, oh, I remember you. But he was like, but it was just all jokes. And he says today, he goes, look, honestly, zero pain at all. But don't tell my wife, I am going to milk this as 10 out of 10 pain for another week.
So important.
Yeah.
So also the vasectomy, you can't ejaculate for like what, 7 days or something?
That's a good question. I don't know how many days.
I swear to God,
I don't know how many days. I don't know how many.
It's like 7. My friend did it.
He had to hold off. Yeah.
7 whole days. And he said he went a little prematurely and said he had a little bit of pain. So that's not good. But yeah, dude. So that was kind of crazy, man. Because I've been doing all the services because I haven't like been to a doctor in forever. Because I'm like, I go to it, and this is I think was cool in your book. You have like, what was it, healthcare 2.0 versus like 3? What was the latest?
Yeah, medicine 2.0 versus medicine 3.0. Yeah.
So 3.0 is kind of where you're at. That's kind of more cutting edge. 2.0 is like a step up from like medieval humors and.
Yeah, but still important. I mean, we still want medicine 2.0. Medicine 2.0 will take care of a problem when it shows up.
Gotcha.
And if you're in a car accident, you break your leg, you get pneumonia, you want someone who knows how to deal with those problems. But it's a very different system from, hey, how do I take a guy whose hemoglobin A1C is 5.5, who everyone thinks is just perfect, but I think he's on the path to actually, being diabetic in 10 years. And why would I wait till he's staring down the door when I could just make the changes now?
Yeah, and that was kind of my beef with doctors. I would go there and they're like nice. I don't have anything against them, but I go there and they're just kind of like, yeah, your cholesterol is good. And I'm like, this is all we're worried about? Like this is, it's like, and then they lowered the window to like blood pressure. One day I went in there and they're like, oh, by the way, high blood pressure is lower now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't have a blood pressure problem, but it's like, I just feel like you go there and it's like, you're like a car. You go in and they check like 2 things. You're like, yeah, you're good. But so I really liked your book, how you're like, you want to check for more things and try to increase the health span, not just the lifespan, which I like. Because a lot of people are very unhealthy. Yeah. I thought I was a poster child for health, dude. I'm one of the suffering Americans. Just, I need Michelle Obama to come make me lunch, dude. I'm fucked up right now. So what are you working on right now? Because the book, has anything changed from the book? And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the summary was like the 4 horsemen. That's the things that the 4 leading causes of death. And there are what? Heart disease?
Cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, and dementing diseases like Alzheimer's disease and metabolic disease.
That's me. That's diabetes, right?
And they overlap. So when you have type 2 diabetes, your risk of those other diseases goes up by 50%. So that one sort of feeds into the other. And also if you have cardiovascular disease, your risk of dementia goes way up. So.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, and do you know what's weird too? Because I don't want to turn this into like a personal doctor visit, but like I, for real, had like crazy brain fog. Like I was like messing up recalling words, and a lot of my mom's side had like dementia stuff when they got older. So I started being like, damn, I might be like getting like early dementia. And as soon as I learned about the high A1C, and I don't know if that's like high enough to cause brain fog. Like I was like, I forgot the word croissant. I was like trying to think of that word. Couldn't think of that. But as soon as I got off all the carbs and now I'm like basically doing like keto, my brain just like came right back to life. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that that's related to the A1C per se, but fluctuating levels of blood glucose make it just a little more difficult. And some people are more sensitive to it than others. Some people, they can eat all the carbs in the world and it doesn't seem to phase them. And a lot of people are like, no, the moment I go to slower carbs or just no carbs at all, or just more complex carbs, my energy levels normalize. And so too does my attention. Yeah,
dude, that happened for me. And I also I don't have to eat as much. Like I was eating so much, man. It would be like 4 cups of rice. I was just pigging out.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I stopped eating that much carbs, I eat like 2 meals a day and they're pretty like sparse. So.
Tell me about these pictures here. What's
thank
the
you, man.
significance?
This I just figured it was funny because it's just kind of like a just an ample naked lady sitting at a picnic. So I I literally picked the pictures very quickly. This one I just wanted very intense imagery.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of like, this is pleasant. It's a little complicated.
What do you think's going on here? Why is she naked? And who are these guys?
These guys are up to no good for sure. I think these guys, it looks like they just got happened upon, and someone's going, "What the hell are you doing with that ample naked lady in the park?" And this guy's like,
but he's like fully dressed. And
yeah.
Who's the girl in the background?
So to answer your first question, this is a clothed male, naked female. It's a fetish. That's going on. And I think she's kind of like next. I think they're like, get over here, strip down so we can have a naked picnic. This caused a serious uproar back in the day. When this guy painted this, it was a problem.
I can see why.
They were like, if you had someone pose, this lady had to have been a prostitute. And they're like, that's totally scandalous.
Yeah. What year approximately was this?
I wish I knew. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say like maybe the late 1800s. If I had to guess. But I could be wrong. And that guy, I don't know what that guy's hat's all about over there, but
yeah, I mean, it's sort of. I don't want to profile him, but I have thoughts.
True, it is a hat. I don't recognize that hat, and I do have my own suspicions as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's like. I don't know what's going on. He seems kind of distracted. I think he's being caught. She's just kind of getting caught. There's just a lady in a pond, maybe, just kind of floating around.
Oh, that's interesting. So I see that now. I thought she was picking up apples, but maybe she's washing her hands.
Sure. Well,
in the pond.
One could only guess why. But so that was cool. I thought that was a fun one. This is very intense. I like this. And then I just, toss a little crucifixion up there.
It's the rainbow crucifixion. I don't know my biblical history well enough to, I would embarrass myself if I asked dumb questions, but is there a rainbow after the crucifixion?
I would hope so. God was rising back to heaven 2 days before, so I'd hope that.
No, I thought it was 3 days after this.
3 days, my bad.
Yeah,
3 days.
So so that foreshadowed maybe the resurrection. Is what
could be, could be.
Yeah.
But I honestly don't know. I don't have any real knowledge.
Can you imagine how brutal the world was when we crucified people?
I think about it all the time.
Like, how lucky are we to live in this candy-ass world of softness?
Dude, I try to tell it to people, and I have people tell me.
I'm so grateful.
It's insane, because I try to tell people, I'm like, dude, it was way different. And other people be
like those guys were thieves, right?
Yeah.
Like that today, you wouldn't even go to jail.
Yeah,
in most cities.
Yeah, they'll kill you.
Yeah. And then you get crucified?
Yeah. And it also, the procession was like a pretty nasty part of it, too. Just to get walked through the streets, spit upon, rocks thrown at you.
I can't fathom.
Dude, the social anxiety.
And by the way, that's only 2,000 years ago, which in the arc of human history is yesterday.
Nothing.
That's nothing.
That's what I try to tell people, man. Because there's a lot of people who are like, everything's always been the same. It's just different variations on the same themes. And I'm like, dude, it's gotten so much different from 2,000 years ago. It can still get so much different.
Think about 500 years ago, right? Think about if you could be you, or you could be the King of England 500 years ago with it sounds great until you get like a dental abscess and you realize there's no AC, there's no heat, the food sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're going to be the King of England 500 years ago.
Yeah, the food still sucks in England now. Yeah, that's a good point, because you could
probably pre-fish and chips.
Yeah, that would actually suck. I never thought about being like the king of another country. But it would be pretty terrible. There was a king in some medieval time, like longer ago than that, but they thought alcohol was like health stuff back in the day. It was like the spirit.
It kind of was, because water was so contaminated, right?
Yeah.
So you basically had two broad cultures that emerged from either the fermentation of water, right, and alcohol to make to get rid of the bacteria, or tea, right? You have sort of the rise of the sort of tea culture where you boiled water. But yeah, the idea that you were just going to go and drink water was like, the fact that we're sitting here drinking this is incredible.
It's pretty tight, actually. But yeah, they had a king. They were like, they rubbed him down in like brandy maybe. And then they were like, all right, we're going to like rub this all over his body. And like a candle got too close and just burnt the guy alive. And all the high priests or whatever had to be like, you must have been fucking evil.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
no one put two and two together. They didn't understand exothermic chemical reactions.
Damn, dude. So let me ask you this. What is the gist of your book is basically, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist was basically like, we can pre-screen better and we can kind of promote wellness rather than waiting till somebody has like a horrible, often irreversible disease and like try to fix it through kind of like nuking the
Yeah,
territory.
and part of it is like, what gets measured gets managed. And so Medicine 2.0 measures lifespan as the ultimate outcome, which is, that's been productive. That's a good thing to measure. I'm not suggesting we shouldn't care about lifespan, because 150 years ago, lifespan was 40 years. Today it's 80. That's insane. We
Pretty
doubled
cool.
lifespan. And that's all due to Medicine 2.0. Basically figuring out how to not kill women when they gave birth to children, how to keep babies alive when they were born, how to fight infections, how to wash our hands, like that, and a little bit of stuff around trauma and critical care. Like, you doubled human lifespan. But we're not managing health span. And so part of the argument is, okay, we've done pretty well on lifespan. We could do better, but we really have to manage health span.
Yeah.
And so if we think about things that make up health span, it's sort of like, how much muscle mass do you have? How strong are you? How much endurance do you have? How much flexibility and balance do you have? How quick is your cognitive performance? How happy are you? How are your relationships? How much joy do you have in your life? These things are softer and squishier. Some of them are pretty easy to measure, like VO2 max and muscle mass and strength. Some of them are harder to measure, like cognitive performance. But if you don't measure something, there's no chance you're going to manage to it. And I would just argue we have to slightly tilt in the direction of doing more on that front.
Yeah, it'd also be cooler to go to the doctor and have him like hit the treadmill. Let's check your VO2 max.
Yeah, let me
Let's
see
do
how
this.
long you can dead hang for. Let me see your grip strength.
That'd be
Like,
so much better than sitting there and just being like basically getting molested and leaving. That's all you do. You go there and they're like, all right, we're gonna. What is the coughing? Why do they do that? Why do they hold your?
It's funny. I thought you were going to ask me to do it to you earlier when you said this is not an appointment. I literally thought you were going to whip your junk out and have me check.
I'm just going just for the A, dude. You got to do the butt.
They're checking for a hernia.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But why is that like the top of the pops? And
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's so much other things to check. It's like we're not going to do all this other stuff that'd be useful. We're
not going to look at a bunch of things, but I do want to stick my finger in the inguinal canal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make you cough.
I'm glad they do that, but it's like, why did that get picked as opposed to all of his other stuff you're talking about? Do you think it has something to do with like just like institutional, just repressed homosexuality throughout the entire culture? And that was like,
I don't know. But I will say this, like, I can't tell you how many rectal exams I've done. And then I realized, like, I mean, technically a good urologist will tell you that their finger is good enough to truly feel a prostate cancer that would otherwise not be picked up on a PSA or some other test. And I'll take them at their word. But I think for the rest of us who don't do 20 a day, yeah, I don't think my finger is good enough.
Don't say that.
I mean, I'll work harder, but
yeah, that's crazy. So they're saying they can just feel like it's just
they've said, like, look, man, there's always that one case that slips through the crack where the guy has a normal PSA, no pun intended. Yeah, jeez.
So they can tell, yeah.
But they're like, yep, if you feel a certain type of super hard nodule on the prostate, that would be suspicious.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I think they really could if doctors would embrace that. It'd be so much more fun. You go, you kind of run on the treadmill, dead hang. They can talk to you a little bit about it. It just seems so kind of sterile.
Plank. Yeah, there's like a bunch of basic
awesome.
tests. Everybody should be able to. We should be able to see the people do. I completely agree.
Yeah, I know that's so. I did really like your book for that reason. Hopefully that kind of stuff takes. So so if that's the scope of the book, where do you stand now? Has anything changed in that time? Or is there anything that's like latest and greatest that's kind of like blowing your mind right now?
I think my thinking is always evolving. I would say if I were writing that book today, I would actually kind of add a fifth horseman, which is anything that pertains to a weakened immune system. So I'm just getting over a cold because I have 3 kids and 2 of them are young. So basically I'm always in the face of like some virus, right?
Yeah.
So twice a year, I always get some stupid cold. And it's no big deal. It starts in my throat, blah, blah, blah. It gets into my lungs. I hack up a bunch of junk and then I'm fine. But, anyone who's been around older folks realizes that that's the kind of thing that can tip them over the edge when they're 80 years old.
Yeah.
A really bad infection, a flu, COVID, things that us, 50-year-olds laugh at can become deadly. And so from a research perspective, this is something I'm super interested in, is how do we regenerate the immune system? So, I'm in my 50s. My immune system's also in its 50s. Would it be amazing if when I'm in my 80s, I could still have an immune system that's maybe like in my 50s or 40s? The effect that would have against, mitigating the risk of fatal pneumonias, infections, and even cancers is huge because the immune system is the first line of defense against cancer.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Is that it? Didn't they used to use like fevers for that too? They would induce fevers to try to kill certain types of cancer.
Yeah, and it wasn't very successful because it's so non-specific.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cancer is the only way for the immune system to eradicate cancer is you have to get the very, very, very specific T cell that recognizes exactly that cancer, and you have to figure out a way to make enough of them that it, wins that war. And that rarely happens spontaneously. I mean, the cases are, documented in the literature. They're so rare, but we now have drugs that can make that happen in about 10% of cases, which is huge.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So how would you what's your research yielded? How do you think you can bolster the immune system or like?
I mean, it depends I don't know how technical the audience wants to get into this stuff, but so stop me when this has become unbearable.
For sure.
So we have DNA. Okay. So everyone's heard of DNA. DNA is the code that tells every cell how to make a protein. So what tells DNA to turn on and off are something called methylations, little carbons that stick on the backbone, or something called the epigenome. So DNA is regulated through this methylation pattern. And as we age, that changes.
Gotcha.
So we can look at a T cell, which is the type of cell that fights a cancer or an infection, and we can say, that's what an old one looks like. That's what a new one looks like. Even though the DNA is the same, the epigenome above the genome, this methylation pattern looks different. And so the question is, what if we took the methylation pattern of an old T cell and made it look like a young T cell? Would it revert into a young T cell? So to me, that's certainly top 2 or 3 most interesting questions in aging research today.
That's pretty cool. And that makes sense because it's like the DNA, you're born with it, and then the epi layer, that's like the kind of like pattern that's affected through the environment.
That's what regulates it, exactly.
Yeah. And then so if you can kind of get into that. And then so you could, and it was stress too, because I noticed that was a big thing in your book. And you can stress yourself to the point where your epigenome will just start being like,
everything in the environment can affect that. So it's affected just naturally through aging. So the passage of time affects it, but so does anything in the environment. So whether you exercise, whether you smoke, whether you have diabetes or not, all of those things, good sleep, bad sleep, high stress, low stress, anything can tweak that in the right or wrong direction.
Damn, okay. That's pretty cool. So you're saying
but the gravitational pull of age is huge. And that's the one I'm most interested in, is like, how would you, because even the healthiest 80-year-old has nowhere near the immune system of an unhealthy 30-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, and we saw that. Everyone was hoping against hope that Mike Tyson would just knock out Jake Paul, and that was kind of like a bitter moment for a lot of people.
Yeah, you can't, like age is not, like,
just can't do it.
Yeah, as Father Time is undefeated, as everybody said.
Yeah, even with like the TRT, what are your thoughts on that? Like in terms of like, what age to kind of smash the glass and just go full upgrade?
I don't know that there's an age I would do it. I mean, I think the things that I would, I had a long talk with a patient yesterday about this exact question, and he's pretty young. He's like 36. Does not have kids, but wants to have kids. Yeah. So that's a huge consideration. So in his situation, I would say like TRT is not a good idea. I suggested that he bank sperm. And if he wants to go down that rabbit hole, and by the way, I don't think he needs to, because I don't think his levels are like kind of 50th percentile. He's not terribly symptomatic. I would kind of eke out a bit more time, but I would rely on hormones that are going to ramp up his body's production of testosterone, as opposed to just giving him testosterone, which will shut off his body's supply
forever.
No, and it's not something that happens overnight. Like he'd have to be on testosterone for a while before he would shut down his own production.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? On like that whole thing, especially for 30-year-olds? Do you think it's like good to kind of have that, or do you think it like should be kind of a long road?
I think you got to take every case individually, but if a 30-year-old has testosterone that is so low that it's impacting him, I think you have to start by asking why.
Right.
Like, how bad is his sleep? How bad is his stress? How bad is every other factor going on? I mean, when I finished, when I was, leaving my residency, my testosterone was 227, I think, which is insanely low. That's only 2.5 times higher than a woman.
What?
Yeah.
Is that why doctors' hands are so soft every time you shake them? Damn,
No,
that's crazy.
That's for the rectal exam, so you just don't get
That's true. That's true. You wouldn't want like my dad's.
No,
finger.
but the reason is pretty clear, right? Because I was sleeping 28 to 30 hours a week.
Damn.
Right. So, horrible sleep deprivation is going to make it really difficult to make appropriate levels of testosterone.
And that makes it harder for you to sleep too when your testosterone gets lower?
I think probably a little bit, but the causality is much more in the opposite direction, meaning the horrible sleep is destroying the production of testosterone and growth hormone. But of course, at the time, it never occurred to me to do anything about it, and once I, was in a job where I could actually sleep each night, lo and behold, my testosterone kind of normalized.
It peaked up.
Yeah.
What do you think that's a good thing for people to actually look at? Because I always get the feeling that like if you even go into one of those places, they're going to hard sell you and you'll be on the tee like before you know it.
I think you should not go to. I'm trying to think of the right analogy. If you walk into a store that only sells hammers, everything's a nail.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if you walk into a tea shop and all they do is male hormone optimization, I would say buyer beware.
Yeah.
Because they, even if they internally have the best of intentions, like I just don't think they can get out of their own way. Yeah. I also think you should be very wary of going to a place for any sort of therapy where they're selling you the therapy.
True.
Like if my whole shtick is I'm here to, give you the best hormones or supplements or whatever, and oh, by the way, on your way out, we'll sell them to you. It's just such a conflict of interest.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
so what do you think about the internet companies that are like I did one. I don't know if it's nice to like name it or not, but like the ones that like you mail like stool sample, blood, saliva, and they're like, here's precision supplements for you and you alone. How do you think they're like? How much of that is kind of generic, and do you think some of those companies are really dialed in or like?
I don't doubt that there are ways to kind of sort of optimize supplements around biomarkers. I'm not sure that it's as precise as people want to believe. Yeah. I certainly don't think that. I actually think you can do a lot of supplement optimization off really basic blood work. Like I don't think, certainly, a stool sample is not necessary because most probiotics can't even provide the bacteria you need to impact it. I mean, your diet has a far greater role. Your fiber content has a far greater role on your gut biome and things that you'd be measuring in stool. And obviously saliva, blood, urine can measure things that are relevant and interesting. There aren't that many things that I think are worth taking. Like I think, if you're low in vitamin D and you're not getting enough sunlight, that makes sense, but that's a pretty simple blood test. If your homocysteine is elevated, you probably should take some methylated B vitamins. And if you drop it by more than 5 or 6 points, you're probably doing a lot. If your omega levels are low, fish oil probably helps if you're not willing to eat 3 servings of fish a week.
Right.
But the true basics of this are really simple. And then there's other supplements that probably make sense for most people, and you don't even need to test for them. Like anybody who's active could probably justify taking creatine.
Yeah.
And there's no blood test that's going to tell you whether or not you need it. We just know that, to fill and saturate total body stores, you're going to need 3 to 5 grams per day. So,
Really? That was surprising. That was like something I heard like in college, like, years ago when I'd lift weights. It was like creatine was almost like viewed as like a serious kind of like bodybuilder supplement. Now everything I read is like, no, everyone needs a ton of creatine.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, if you're playing the game of optimizing, you're going to get a benefit, probably about a 10% boost in performance for intensity and like super short intensity, i.e. the creatine phosphate energy system. So kind of like high bursts of, 10-second work and then anaerobic stuff. It's not going to improve much aerobically, but and you'll also get a little hypertrophy benefit because the muscles will get bigger when they bring more water in.
That makes sense. Yeah, if like my kids are like 7 feet away and they're not listening, I could just fucking run at them.
Easy.
Like, the fuck are you doing?
Easy.
Just hulk them down. Yeah, that's my thing with fitness. A lot of people, and I'm sure I don't know if you've heard this. You're kind of I'm sure your like listenership is very health oriented, but a lot of people get very like, I don't know, like very kind of scoffed. They kind of scoff a lot of this stuff where they're like, who gives a shit? And it's like, and I feel bad because like I do get it. If you're like in a job you hate and you're just totally crushed down by like your life circumstance, having somebody be like, dude, eat a banana and do jumping jacks. You're gonna be like, dude, fuck you. I don't want to think about this. But it also will make your life better. Like I always like, whenever I lose sight of that, whenever I get too into my own like just stuff where I'm like, this isn't going well. I don't have time. If I just take like an hour, even a half an hour, and just like run as fast as I can, it's like I feel like amazing.
Yeah.
And I always say that's like a nice dimension you can add to your life where it's like everyone's like, like I want to get better in my job, blah, 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 blah. It's like just adding that, like time yourself running 100 meters and then try to get a better time next week. It gives you something you're kind of making progress in. And it also, you feel like great as a result.
Yeah. I think this is where kind of social media really distorts reality. And the example you give is a great one, right? So if your health sucks and you're trying to figure out where you're going to find an extra 2 hours a week to do some form of self-care, the last thing you need is some idiot influencer telling you to spend more time in the sauna and cold plunging. Like, I can promise you that is not the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth best use of your time if you only have 2 hours a week.
How would you break it down then?
If you've only got, I would start with let's do the absolute basics of blocking and tackling. So first thing I want to know is, are you getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night? Because if you're not getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night, it's going to be very difficult for you to do anything at your best.
So I don't want to interrupt you. My question with that is, say you are tracking your sleep and you only get like 43 hours of deep sleep every night, even though you go to bed at like a proper time. Does that matter as much of like REM versus deep sleep, or like?
I assume you mean 43 minutes, but
43 minutes.
Yeah.
I wish it's fuking 43 hours.
I only get 43 hours of deep sleep a year. I'm doing the math quickly. Oh god. I don't know. If a person says, I feel really well, and there are these, I link to them in the book. There are a whole bunch of surveys you can get for free that just have you do like, these are validated surveys that kind of go through daytime drowsiness and stuff like that. If you're in bed 7 to 7.5 hours a night, ideally 8, and your little sleep tracker says you're sleeping 7, but you're not happy with your stages, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that unless you feel that there is a problem.
Got you.
But if you're like, no, I feel fine, and I fill out all the 2 surveys and they said I'm doing fine, ignore the data.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and stop wearing the tracker.
I know. I gotta stop.
Done with the tracker. So
I was checking every day. I'm like, 43 fucking minutes.
Yeah. Like, it just creates more anxiety.
It's just red. I see red numbers. And I'm like, fuck.
I haven't used one of those in a longer time than I can remember.
Yeah.
So
just do the basics.
The next bucket. Yeah. So then the next bucket I want to know is, what's your physical activity level? So let's say this is a person who's got none. They're doing none. And they say, look, I've only got 2 extra hours. I'm putting that entire 2 hours into exercise. So I'm going to say, we're going to do 4 30-minute workouts a week. And, again, I'd have to know more about the person, but it could easily end up being, we're going to do 2 cardio sessions a week. We're going to do 2 strength sessions a week. One of those cardio sessions per week is going to be kind of aerobic base training, where you're going at the same intensity the whole time. It's not that high. You can still sort of almost carry out a conversation. It's a little hard to talk, but you could. And then the other cardio session I would do, say 3 days off of that, would be more interval, kind of like what you were describing. So let's get on if you're at a gym and they have one of those air bikes, do something there, be on a treadmill, be outside. It doesn't really matter. Like the goal, this person will get so much benefit from 2 hours a week of exercise that it almost doesn't matter what they do. And then the other 2 days a week, I'd have them do 2 30-minute whole body workouts at a gym where they never stop moving.
Okay.
So if you're doing it at home, it might be push-ups, pull-ups, wall sits, something like that. If you're at the luxury of being at a gym, you might just rotate machine to machine to machine and never stop. And that would just bring huge dividends. And then the last thing I'd do is, in addition to that, is just do a quick audit of their diet. Yeah. Are you overweight? Are you adequate weight? Are you underweight? That determines whether you need to eat more or less. And then, are you getting enough protein? And honestly, I wouldn't make it much more detailed than that. And so, look, with just a little bit of that insight, you've made better use of 2 hours a week. You've got them to stop worrying about their sleep. You've maybe changed 3 little things in their diet. I promise you that person in 3 months is going to feel significantly better. And then maybe, by the way, at that point, they're like, you know what? I wouldn't mind doing 3 hours a week of this exercise thing because I'm feeling kind of good. And you know what? I kind of want to dial the diet in a little bit more. But again, the problem is too many people are consuming information that says, oh my God, you need to be on this supplement. You need to be on this supplement. You need to be doing 30 minutes of this type of sauna and 20 minutes of this type of cold plunge. And people are like, shut up.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, and to be clear, I love sauna and I love cold plunge.
Sure.
But it is like the 20th thing on my list of 21 things
Mm-hmm.
that is a part of my routine.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. That's actually cool to hear because it is like the solution is pretty basic and simple, and that's a thing that gets me bummed out when like because I do think we live, and I could just be wrong, but I feel like we live in a pretty nihilistic kind of age, and it's like it does suck when that spreads. It's like a physical nihilism. Like, what the fuck's the point of even? It's like, dude, you'll feel so much better if I don't work out. I get depressed. It's like A to B easily. If I don't do it for like 2 weeks, I'm just like depressed and sad, and it's like, and if you don't do it, it's just you feel terrible, and I always like to try to, like just get up and move your fucking body, man. There's so much,
I mean,
it's so much better than
we were meant to move.
We were.
And meant to be outside. That might be the other thing I would add is figure out a way to do something outdoors, like whether it's a quick walk or incorporate some of that exercise outdoors.
You know what I started doing? Skateboarding. At my ripe old age of 38, I started.
Took it out.
I just took it back. I've been doing it when I was little, I just started it, and it's weird. That's a real eye opener when you take an activity you did in childhood effortlessly. And like, let me try this again at 38. Dude, I swear I burnt 900 something calories. I skateboarded for an hour and 20 minutes. And I was dying.
That's
like,
awesome.
Cardio wise, I was just doing like a little pump track where you kind of just like ride up on a wall. Dude, I thought I was going to die. I used to do this all day when I was younger. Now I'm like, it's like a real eye opener to be like, all right, where am I at? Because I do feel like, especially, I guess men and maybe women do it too, but men specifically over index, like, I'm good. And it's like, try something that you did when you were younger. And you're like, holy shit, I'm going to my heart rate was at like 170 the whole time. Just skateboarding. And I was barely pushing. I just had to like balance myself on this track. And it was amazing though. I agree with you. It's like, find something, to do and just kind of, I don't know. I feel like, I do feel like we get too tunnel visioned into like the career stuff. And it's like, you need to do that to survive. But it's like the sacrifice of hours of time for like the quote unquote rest time into like physical activity just pay dividends and all the other things you're trying to do anyway. But
yeah,
I always sound like a broken record, but I'm like, dude, it's so important, man. It really is. So yeah, skateboarding's awesome. We should go one time. You skate?
Nope, I do not at all.
Have you ever?
Nope. And it's funny. I mean, growing up, I was certainly of that age when a lot of kids were skateboarding. I don't know why it just never appealed to me.
Yeah.
I was sort of busy in my own little world. My daughter did for a little bit. She's 16 now, but she did probably like when she was 10, 11, 12, she was pretty into it. The coolest thing I've picked up recently, though it's not a physical activity, but I'm freaking obsessed with it, is chess.
Really?
Holy cow.
How are you? Pretty good?
No, I'm horrible. I mean, I'm
pretty
just
bad.
learning, but I love it. Like I can't stop playing. I just can't stop.
Who are you playing against?
I'm just playing my boys.
Really?
Literally, just the three of us.
Phone
just go back
chess
and forth.
or physical
like on
chess?
the board.
That's good. Yeah.
Writing down every move, studying our moves after.
Really?
Like nerding out, watching YouTube videos. I'm obsessed with this guy, Magnus Carlsen, who's the best chess player in the world.
Him, actually, yeah.
Dude, I can't stop watching chess porn.
Really?
Can't stop.
That's awesome.
Can't stop.
That's awesome.
You know how YouTube figures out what you're about? Like
Yes.
my videographer for our podcast, he pulls me aside like 3 weeks ago, goes, "Are you getting into chess?" And I'm like, "How do you know?" He goes, "Because like I'm managing our YouTube channel and like it only populates it's just like pushing chess stuff all day."
That's
and I was
awesome.
Like, yeah, dude, I can't stop.
It is good for your
I
brain.
stay up
though.
at night like watching chess videos.
Do
It's
you
awful.
really?
Oh, it's awful. I'm like, it's 9:30. I should go to bed.
What's your opening move? What do you go with?
Oh, I'm typically like E4. You know, but I like to castle really early. So I'm going to try to castle within about within 4 or 5 moves if I'm doing a kingside castle.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the first move, the horse, just over your pawns and be like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
It's called. There's a name for it. I forget what it's
There
called.
is,
It's like the
yeah.
English or something. But
Horse.
the horse. I just fucking bang. Here's my motherfucking horse.
Yeah. No, the knight's cool because again, he can hop over people.
You
It's
move in that
awesome.
fucked up L-shaped pattern. But yeah, I love chess too. That is fun. I just say I don't have anyone to play it with. That's the thing. It's like it's how long does a chess game take?
One of my boys is super aggressive, so the games are quick because he just comes
Really?
out swinging.
Does he really?
Oh, he swings.
I like that.
He goes for the fences.
Does he
And then the other one is so conservative and so thoughtful that the games take like so long. And I got us a little timer too. So I'm like, buddy,
That's
you have
nice. Yeah.
2 hours to make the first 40 moves or you're disqualified.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you got to think on your feet.
And the younger one, the one who's super aggressive, is so competitive. Like if anyone in our family ever makes it and becomes like great, it's him. because you can't like hit the fire is insane.
Really?
When he loses, he tears up his sheets, and I'm like, buddy, you shake my hand, and we had a good game. And he's like, and he's just losing his mind that he lost a game of chess.
It's war, yeah, it's war. Is it true that the possibilities of the chessboard are kind of infinite?
They
in a
are
way?
truly infinite.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a computationally infinite problem.
Damn.
Or as close to, I mean, I shouldn't say infinite, right? In that AI can,
yeah,
but it's from a practical perspective, I think it's infinite.
Damn, that's awesome. That is cool. I'm gonna try it. My kids are too young for that. My daughter did a like one.
Your
of those,
oldest is 6?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay.
4. 6 could be 6 is doable. 4
6 is totally doable.
I did chess. We did one of those big ones. We were on vacation. We did one of those like those like huge outdoor chess boards with the big pieces.
Yeah.
We did it, and I tried with my 4-year-old, and by the end of it, it was like the mommy and daddy were the queen and king were mommy and daddy, and the pawns are all of our babies. And I was like, all right, man, what the hell, this sucks. But yeah, man, that is amazing.
I once made the mistake of in a game, like one of my older one, the one who's more conservative, like he had a rook, knight, bishop in the back that hadn't moved, and it was like 25 moves in, and I'm like, buddy, those guys over there are standing there like they got their thumbs up their butts, and now those 2 boys cannot stop saying that. They just walk around anytime someone's not moving. Why do you have your thumb up your butt? And my wife's like, why do you say this stuff to them? Like, you can't say anything like that. They're just going to say whatever you say.
I know. It's weird. It's weird because my 4-year-old is like language police in our house. She like will learn that something's bad, and then she's just like horrified of the idea of saying it. And she's like, if she hears us saying anything like we even say the word hate. I don't know where we didn't. This wasn't a rule for us. Like, oh, I hate that. She'll be like, don't say that. She like polices our language. If we say like, my wife said freaking the other day, and she's like, Mom, that's a bad word.
It's a bad word. Yeah.
Like, no, it's not. And she's like, and I was arguing. My wife's like, no, just give her that one. She's like, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, that is true. They do parrot everything. You really do got to watch what you say, because you can say whatever you want around them for the longest time, and eventually you're like, oh shit, you can talking shit on my neighbors. You can hear this. You can hear this right now.
Our youngest one, when this is the super aggressive one, so it's not surprising. I think when he was like 3, we get a call from the preschool, and they're like, yeah, you got to come and get him. My wife's like, what's going on? They're like, he said the F word.
Whoa.
My wife's like, oh, I'll be right there, but
they made you get him for that?
Yeah, I'm like, this is a misunderstanding. And my wife's like, first of all, the kid is obsessed with rhyming. So he almost assuredly was like, truck, fuck, or something like that. And the woman is like, no. He's actually the first kid we've ever heard use it properly.
Oh, no.
They're like, what was the situation? And they're like, well, he was in circle time, and we were telling all the kids they had to be quiet, and he wasn't being quiet. And we're like, hey, if you're not quiet, you're going to have to get up and leave. And he wouldn't be quiet. So we got up and made him leave, and he stood up apparently and just goes, fuck it. And then walked and got out of the corner.
Like, that's a coincidence.
Yeah. I'm like, I think he learned that from his mom.
Yeah, my daughter nailed she dropped something one time when she was really little, and she was like, shit. I was like, damn it. That was right on
That's
the money.
on me. Yeah.
I was like, that was right on the money.
Yeah.
So they made you, what are you, like, it was like a 1-day suspension?
Yeah, it was like he's on probation now. I mean, it was like, we ended up finding another preschool for him that he did great in.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's insane to like be like, you got to come get this kid.
Yeah.
Although that could spread like wildfire amongst other people.
Yeah, I guess I can see it from your point as well.
No, that's lame. That's crazy to be like, he must leave right now. But I think they got to let that kind of stuff go. That is tricky though, man, because especially that age, it's like kids hit other kids, and like, some people are like, this is like, you can't. It's like, but I don't know. I treat it like the dog park. It's like, they'll figure it out, man. If it's really bad,
there's got to be enough discomfort in the situation for the kids to evolve.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's like, dude, you gotta they're gonna do that, man. It's like, me and my cousin got separated, and we were in kindergarten together, and then we went to the same school the next year, and they were like, AM class, BM class, they can't be with each other at all. But I thought it turned out all right. So before you get out of here, we're coming up on where are we at right now, Josh? I don't want to keep you too long. Huh? 45. Perfect. The one thing that I feel like was in the book a lot, you talked about how, and again, always correct me if I'm wrong, because I have stuff in my head. Stress was something was really on the back burner that you kind of put to kind of like the forefront of your thinking from like the day to day and a health perspective. How where do you kind of stand on that? And like, what's like, do you have any thoughts on that at all?
When I think about like, what is the thing that's going to kill me fastest? I think it's undoubtedly stress. I just think it's, I think it's the most insidious killer in a way because it's the hardest thing to measure directly. You can sort of measure some of its indirect actions, like on blood pressure and blood sugar, which both go in the wrong direction when stress is high. But I think there's even components of it that just, even when blood sugar and blood pressure are normal, I still think it's just doing something to your brain, probably, and to your heart. And again, I don't think anybody would feel good living in a zero stress environment. So it's mostly just about kind of managing how one responds to it. And I think it goes beyond just stress. I think it's sort of like just overall like satisfaction in life and contentment and, enjoying your relationships with people. I interviewed this guy on my podcast, Bill Perkins, who wrote this incredible book. It's one of my favorite books. It's called Die with Zero. And he writes about how you have basically you have time, you have money, and you have experiences. And he talks about it through health. So health, time, and money.
Okay.
And you're not optimizing for the most of any one of those. You're optimizing for the net of fulfillment.
Okay.
So too many people miss that, right? They're just like working really, really hard to get as much money as possible or as much fame as possible. Or they're like maniacally focused on their health. And that's the only thing they think about.
Right.
Or they're just trying to, live as long as possible or make as much time for certain things. But it's kind of like how you put all those things together to optimize around fulfillment. So in this book, he writes about this idea of like people aren't doing the equation correctly. They're deferring too many experiences when they're young to do when they're old, but then they don't realize when they're old, their health is actually they're not actually able to do it when they have all the money in the world.
Yeah.
They can't go and take the incredible vacation, or if they can, their kids aren't with them or their kids aren't young. So I think it's just kind of reframed a lot in my mind and made me realize that, when our kids are young and we are incredibly healthy, that should be the time that we invest more in fulfillment and experiences as a family. Which has just been a completely different mindset for me from where I was most of my life.
Yeah. Just going kind of like full blast.
Yeah.
Make as much money as possible.
Sleep when I'm dead.
That's a big one. Sorry about that bug, dude. That bug won't leave you alone. It hasn't even come over to me at all.
I must stink.
Yeah, that is kind of a cool thing too, man. Because you don't really, it's also something you don't really learn. Like nobody really tells you how to manage your stress. You kind of mostly, from what I gather, you kind of just like watch your parents deal with stress and you're like, all right. And you just kind of like take those patterns and just apply them to your life. And it's like, it really does like, what I've been trying to do recently is like, just take one day out of the week. Usually it's Sunday because like we're all off, everyone's hanging out. And I just try to focus on like being as calm and at ease. That's like top priority of my day. Usually it's like, I got to get this done. I got to this done. And like on one day a week, I'll be like, I'm only focused today. My number one goal is to try to like stay in a state of like ease and kind of contentment. And if I get out of it, I like before I'm like, I just try to zero in on that. And that's been kind of like, for me, that's been like a bit of a revelation to be like, oh, I can move through like multiple days without completely spinning myself the fuck out. And, it's been, I don't know, it's been kind of nice.
And what do you think spins you out? Is it just busy? It's too much?
Yeah, it's too much.
Or is there a particular thing?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. It could be my kids not listening, kind of spins me out. If I'm like trying to get up the steps and it takes 40 minutes and I'm kind of like, all right, like, let's go. Could be anything. Could be like overwhelm, like just like situations at work I got to deal with that are just completely overwhelming. Stuff in the house, it's just like lack of sleep. Because our kids are still so little that like our sleep gets fucked up. But yeah, it is. It's usually like relational stress or just like work stuff. Those are the two main things that kind of like can really spin me out.
And I would argue that most work stress is relational as well. So I kind of agree. I think relationships are both the best part of life and the most stressful part of life.
Yeah, I agree. So that's been my.
That's what's going on here, by the way. A lot of relational stress in that film. I can tell you right now.
That is true. But yeah, that's kind of the thing, man. It's like, well, this is my whole point is like, you do have some say in how much a thing can like everything can floor you. Things come out of nowhere and you're like, you get caught in it, but just learning how to be like, all right, something got me. It's like laser tag. Like my thing's beeping. I can kind of walk myself through this without like going on like a Godzilla path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. That's been pretty helpful for me before I get caught. That's my ultimate fate. She's like, babe, I'm having a naked picnic with a prostitute. She's right there and coming out of the water, just hawking me.
It's not what it looks like.
But yeah, that is the number one, man. It's like, dude, it's like managing stress, keeping yourself physically fit, because you can't like otherwise, like what the fuck are we doing, man? It's like, it's like unless I mean, some people are just surviving, which is kind of that sucks, but I don't know. I feel like people, there's other countries where people are just surviving, but they still do cool stuff. They have like big ornate jugs of water and they carry it around, they like dance and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of sick. I'm just trying to make people happy. I don't know how to do it. Well, dude, I mean, is there anything else that's kicking in your mind?
I don't think so.
Well, I think you did it. Thank you for coming and doing this. I apologize for the strange format, but how do you feel about standing in podcasting?
I think it's hilarious. I think it is. This is the first standing podcast I've ever done.
Bro, it's not bad. How do you feel about it, honestly? You can hurt my feelings. If you
honestly,
don't like it.
I think I have better posture than I normally do.
That's what I'm saying. When you're sitting on a podcast, you're kind of like slouching forward.
Yeah.
Standing keeps you on your feet. It keeps the mind sharper.
Like, I feel like we're doing a political debate the way they're angled at each other, too. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I need a moderator to ask me a question. That's the only thing that it would have been a little better if it was moderated. If this discussion was moderated.
That's a good
and more heated.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. I want to work on being less
I wouldn't
chill.
mind a teleprompter next time, if you wouldn't mind.
Teleprompter is nice.
So I want a teleprompter there, moderator there, a little more.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we could bring some heat.
Yeah.
We could bring some heat. If you want the heat, I have some burning hot questions. I didn't ask them. They're about a lawsuit, so I was like, I don't know. Why can't everyone? You can't talk about lawsuits. No one can ever talk about them.
I know the lawyers say no.
Yeah, why? Though? Yeah. What's the point? Bring awareness.
Bring awareness.
Yeah, I did. I was researching just, when you have someone on and I saw you're embroiled in a lawsuit, and I said, hell yeah, dude. That's what's up. So, but we won't. I mean, the lawyers won't like that. That is bullshit. You can't talk. I mean, dude, don't do it. But that is like, why? What the fuck's the problem? I don't know. Whatever. But anyway. Well, dude, thank you. Dude, is there anything you want to plug? Is there the book? Obviously, read the book, dude.
Read the book. Listen to the podcast.
Peter Attia, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're the man.